Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the developer chat here at Privateer Press for May 22nd, 2019. I'm Will Hungerford, lead developer of Privateer Press. With me is head of development, Schoonover, my boss and taskmaster.
I don't know about taskmaster.
Just my master. And we will be talking to you for probably the next 30, 45 minutes about a lot of cool things. If you've never watched one of our streams before, we stream twice a week here at Privateer Press. Wednesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Pacific. Wednesdays is Dev Chat, where we talk about what's going on with the various games in development. Thursdays is Get Your Paint On with Jordan Lamb, where Jordan paints the models we make and talks about hobby tips and tricks. And then we have two special shows we do a month. We have the Staff Showdown, where we get together and we play about live battle report of one of the games we make. And Primecast Live, which the next one is this Friday, which is where we get people from different parts of the company to come on and talk about what they're up to, like art and fiction and whatever.
Do we know what Jordan's painting this week?
It is Valen Hawk.
Valen Hawk?
I believe it's pronounced Hawk.
Yep, one of the new Infernal models.
The Fallen Knight, the guy on the horse.
Sweet.
The evil
That's
horse.
definitely a good one to check out.
We're joined by Tony Konachek, video master,
Good
who
morning.
runs everything and is deep in the tank right now on all the lock and load videos for the keynote. So if you see Tony, buy him a pie, give him a handshake, tell him good job, because the boy is locked in a basement right now just working nonstop. All of you in chat, hello. Thanks for joining us on Twitch and Facebook.
Yeah.
So
Somebody noticed there's a Riot Quest background.
there's a Riot Quest background, because we're going to be talking a lot about the starter heroes in the Riot Quest core box.
Yeah, we're going to give a preview.
We're going to give a pretty big rules preview
in the box.
of what's in the box. Well, specifically about the heroes. Today's focus is on those hero models, including their Riot Quest rules and your first look at their War Machine and Hordes rules that are currently in playtesting. Before we get into that, a couple quick reminders, mini crate stuff going on.
Yep.
There's a new mini crate model, the Grey Lord Taskmaster. Look at that adorable little Doom Reaver pup,
Yep.
the fell puppy.
Yeah. So if anybody's wondering, this is their command attachment. So this is the Grey Lord. Somebody was asking the other day, was like, but it's not a Doom Reaver. Well, their attachment is a Grey Lord that leads them with all wizardy powers.
Yes.
So that's what this model is.
Alternatively, buy it for just the puppy.
Or, yes, get a bunch of them and puppies everywhere. On every base, you got all your Warjacks with a puppy. You got all your Warcasters with a puppy. You got like a base that's just 8 puppies. Yeah.
So if somebody gets 6 puppies and wants to run a full unit of Doom Reavers
As
using
puppies.
only puppies,
Yeah.
and they clearly mark which one is the unit leader, I'm calling it now. I'll totally allow it in organized play.
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
that is legal.
Well, first off, we get this question all the time. If you're going to an event, check with the organizer of that event for what their rules are.
Yes.
Because we have our own rules, and they're in the Steamroller document.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that some guy running something in Ann Arbor, Michigan is going to follow 100% of all those rules.
and they're
There might be some variations
Yeah.
on those kind of things. And in general, as long as it's one of our models and it looks like what it's supposed to look like,
Yes.
then it's fine. So that's obviously a Doom Reaver. So there would be no problem in running a whole squad of Doom Reavers, as long as you marked which one was the leader in some way.
Our conversion rules are going to be the strictest they can be because they're the furthest you can go, right? They're
Yeah.
like the rules, like letter of the law style, but ease up if you want to. They're guidelines,
Yeah.
right? And so when we enforce it, we're always going to enforce it as written. But
Yeah. Somebody needs to paint a whole squad of those as different kinds of dogs, like the Dalmatian
yeah.
as the leader.
Well, there's so many dogs now in the game.
Yeah.
You've got the Trencher Dog, you've got the War Dog, you've got Fell Puppy. Like, we just need, and then you add a couple like Circle Wolves. It's great. What are we talking about again?
Dog Squad
Mini
Go.
Crate, that's right.
Yeah.
So you can go to
That was
Mini.
that's the brand new model.
You can go to mini-crate.com and buy your puppies. Like, do it. Why wouldn't you? Also, if you get a 6-month sub in your next shipment, you will get the Bride of Arcadius alternate Dr. Arcadius model.
Up until August.
It is free with your VIP subscription of 6 months. And talking about the Legend of the Five Rings mini crate line, the current model is a Moto Chagatai.
Close.
Moto Chagatai of the Unicorn Clan. And the VIP model, as we see, Shoshuri Sadako. Sadako. Got it. So Shuru. I'm done.
Yeah. So those are
Shoshuru
the Unicorn Clan champion and the the Scorpion? Is that what it was?
Shuro.
It's not on that board. It's over there.
Sadako.
Anyway, yeah. So that's Mini Crate.
Yep. Cool. Also, Lock and Load is effectively tonight. So
It's later this afternoon.
It's
I
later
feel
this
like.
afternoon, basically,
Yeah.
or alternatively, it's June 21st through 23rd. We are less than a month away from
Yeah.
Lock and Load.
Officially, since this is the 22nd, we are less than a month.
If you want to come participate in this silliness face to face, come hang out. Tickets are available. There are more hotel room blocks that got opened up, so there's some more space to stay at the actual convention.
Yep.
So, shall we get into things?
Is that all of our announcements?
That's all of our announcements.
Okay, cool.
What we're talking about today, oh, you have a sweet Kingdom Con shirt.
I do.
I didn't even see
I
that.
got a Kingdom Con shirt when I was at Kingdom Con. It's the 10th anniversary last Kingdom Con shirt. So
Makes
yeah.
me sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad. It makes me sad because of all the shows I go to every year. I was never sent to Kingdom Con,
I was only sent the one last time.
so I never got to go to Kingdom Con ever. There was always like another show around the same time. So I'm sad. Ross Thompson, I love you. What we're talking about today is Riot Quest is coming up very, very soon. It's going to be pre-releasing at Gen Con. We solicited it. It's releasing just shortly after. We'll be talking more in depth about the basic game mechanics and doing more previews as time goes on. But if you haven't heard about it yet, it's a brand new game. It's a hybrid miniatures board game, hex-based arena skirmish game with a lot of chaos and a lot of sort of insanity, and you as a player trying to just make the best decisions you can, snatch up as much loot as you can from the wrecked arena, win by claiming the various objectives, and dealing with whatever the arena is throwing at you.
Yeah.
Timeline-wise, this is an alternate timeline where...
Yeah, you had a whole entire insider about
I did.
The basics behind the concept of the timeline.
The basic narrative is the Infernals come. They've come to claim the souls of humanity. And in the War Machine...
They want everything.
Yeah, they want everything. In the War Machine of Hordes timeline, well, that'll keep going past Oblivion. The Riot Quest timeline is where we lose. The Infernals win, they kill, they take just about nearly everybody, and all that's left is like the most hardened, cagey survivors possible. And they're left behind in an empty world that's just full of like loot and goodies, so they're doing whatever they can to survive. And in Riot Quest, you build a salvage team. You play on various arenas, there'll be multiple maps, where you and your salvage team are teleporting in, because the tech level is just a little bit past normal.
Yeah,
War Machine.
that big blue thing in the background is a teleportation device. That's why they're all like
Zapping out of it.
zapping out of it.
They're sort of teleporting in, you're running around. One of the core mechanics of the game is there's a deck of bounty cards. And these are various effects that'll happen in the arena and various goals you have to achieve. We previewed some of them recently, so they might be like, do damage to an enemy in a certain way, or go grab this item that randomly spawns in the map and bring it somewhere, or this gate started malfunctioning and now it's like sparking and somebody has to go up and fix it. There's always 2 cards in play at a time, and when one player does whatever the card says to do, they claim the card, it's worth a certain amount of VPs, and another card flips over.
Yep.
And because you randomly shuffle the deck every time you play, that means the win conditions are dynamic and constantly changing. This is an alternating activation game. I go with one person, you go with one person, back and forth till we're out of resources. Which means you can use the same team and play multiple times and have very, very different
Yeah.
well,
Well, the other thing about that is your team is effectively up to 10 models, but only 4 in play at a time.
Yeah, you never have more than
So
4.
if you have Eris and Dez and Govan and Dreyfus and Bamfist, who's behind me somewhere, I think. Yeah, back there. That's only half your team. And if you switch out a couple of those models, then your team's overall concept can change a little bit and they can deal with different things.
Yep. And there's also gear cards in the game, which are neutral cards you get with the various products you pick up. You build a hand of gear cards, and these are upgrades that you can purchase as the game goes on as you pick up loot by either beating up enemies or opening treasure chests that appear throughout the arena, and you use those to upgrade your characters. And we're going to go through a full overview later, but what we want to do today is the starter box that's coming out that got solicited comes with 5 models. It's your starting crew.
That's those guys.
And it's those 5 models we just talked about. And what we're going to show you today is we're going to show you the Riot Quest cards, so you can see what a Riot Quest stat card for a hero looks like, and the kind of rules you might see appear on it. And then we're going to show you, because every single Riot Quest model we're making, we're also going to design War Machine and Hordes rules for.
Yep.
So that you can play the game, those models in War Machine and Hordes, Steamroller, narrative play, whatever you want to do. These are not being CID'd, but we are going to show you the core box models where they're at in playtest right now. So we're going to show you the playtest PDFs and their full rules, so you get a look at just how different these two games are and kind of what's coming. So for everybody in chat right now, we will try and answer questions as we can. You know, there's a lot goes on in chat, so if we miss one of your questions, we're not ignoring you, we promise, but we've got a lot to cover, so let's get to it. Let's start with Bamfist, Balthasar Bamfist. So Balthasar Bamfist is a Rulik, he's a Rulik from Zoo. So he's a Zully's dwarf.
They have different hairstyles.
They have very different hairstyles.
Yeah.
So here we see his Riot Quest model. So let's look at, let me talk about what you're seeing here. First thing you'll notice is obviously the art and the name, and then an icon to the left of the name. That icon indicates the class of the hero. There's 6 classes in the game. These are important for different types of gear, different types of bounties, and different types of things you're trying to achieve. The wrench indicates he's a specialist. Specialists are usually support models. They are not necessarily the best fighters, but they do make the rest of your team do really amazing things. Every hero has at maximum 3 abilities on their card, and these abilities will either be on the hero themselves or they'll be attached to specific weapons that they have on them. Every class shares an ability. So for example, the Tinker ability you see on Bamfist, every specialist hero we ever put out in Riot Quest will always have Tinker. So ultimately, that means every hero truly has 2 unique rules and then the shared class ability. Riot Quest is a very casual, very easy to pick up and play game. Even when you've got 10 heroes and so on, you're never going to get bogged down by a ton of different rules.
Yeah, things are really straightforward.
Super straightforward. So let's talk about what we're seeing next. You have the stat line at the top. We see his speed. Whenever he runs, when it's his activation and he runs, that's how many spaces on the board he can move. All the defenses in the game are split into 2 numbers, a low number and a high number. When somebody attacks you, if they roll a number of strikes equal to the low number, they do 1 point of damage. If they roll the higher number or higher, they do super damage. They do 2 points of damage. So for example, if someone rolled a 0, 1, or a 2, they would miss Balthasar. If they rolled a 3 or a 4, they would do 1 point of damage. And if they rolled a 5 or more, they would do super damage. Tony's got something he wants to jump in and say.
I do want to jump in and say that it makes for a very interesting dynamic when you're playing the game, because that generally means most characters at full health will not die in 1 turn.
Yes.
So you have to think beyond that. And it gets really interesting when you're playing multiplayer games, because you can only do a maximum amount of damage to a character in 1 turn.
Yes.
And then that leaves your opponents to be able to pick up those pieces later.
Yes.
And there are a couple of small fry heroes that only have 2 hit points.
We'll get to one of those in a bit. Stamina is how much health they have. That's how much damage they can take before they are knocked out. And when they don't die, they go into the cooler in this game. You always have 4 heroes in play. When your turn starts, if you don't have 4 heroes, the heroes you had on your bench, the rest of that roster you brought, you spawn them into the arena randomly. You pick which hero you want to spawn, and they appear at a random gate. There's 6 gates on the map. So you never know quite where they're going to show up, but you do control who you're putting in. They have to be on your bench. People that get knocked out go in the cooler, and at the end of a round, once all the heroes have completed all their activations, you roll to see who wakes up. And if they don't wake up, they stay in the cooler, and they can't be used to spawn later.
You never know exactly how hurt they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you do have a choice. If you have 5 people in there, and one of them is going to come out, you can pick which one it is. It's not like you roll for each individual guy, and one person might be stuck in there forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So looking at his abilities, all specialists have the Tinker ability, which says that when you equip gear to them, it costs 2 less than its normal cost, and anyone else in your crew that's next to them, it also costs 2 less to a minimum 1. So when you're trying to equip gear to your characters that have loot costs, this makes it super cheap. You can get some really powerful gear for as cheap as like 1 loot, which usually when you open a chest, you're getting like 3 to 4 loot, and when you knock out another hero, you're usually getting 1 loot, and most gear is around 3 to 5 loot.
Yeah.
The Empower ability, so let me explain.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. At the start of every turn, you get 6 action dice. Every time your heroes perform an action, such as running, attacking, opening a treasure chest, doing anything, you spend one of those 6 action dice and you put it on the hero. These dice stay locked on them until the end of the round. Now, a hero can spend multiple dice and do multiple things in 1 turn, but that's more dice you're spending on 1 hero. Basically, I could activate Balthasar, spend a die to have him run, and spend a die to have him attack. Then end his turn, let my opponent go, and still have 4 dice left to do things.
Yep.
Then I could spend a die to have Eris go, and so on and so forth. You can't activate a hero that already has dice on them. So once the dice are on them, that hero is locked for the round and can't do anything else. So your dice are one of your main, and you have 6 every turn, never goes above or below that. And that's one of your main, basically think of them like activation token, action tokens. But sometimes you also roll them to do things.
Yeah.
So Balthasar has a special ability with the A next to it, which means he has to spend a die to use it. It's called a special action. Because when he performs this, you choose another model in your crew within 2 spaces of him, and you take 2 action die off of them and return them back to your dice well. So basically, let's say Eris spent a die to run and she spent a die to attack with her weapon. Then your opponent goes and it comes back to Balthasar. And you have Balthasar run up next to her, spin a die to empower her. You yank those 2 dice off of her.
Yep.
And they go back to your dice well to be used later on the turn on Eris or another hero. And if you want to, she doesn't have those 2 dice on her anymore, and she can be chosen to activate.
Yeah.
So Empower is it's the only instance of it currently in Riot Quest is on Balthasar, making him incredibly potent as a support model.
Yeah. But you also have to remember that your models are going to be randomly spawning at different gates.
Yes.
So an ability like that looks like it's ridiculously powerful might not come into play as often as you want it to, because your models might not be in the right position.
Yeah, and you also have to set it up. You can do a thing like have a hero run a number of spaces closer to Balthasar and in their activation, knowing that Balthasar is going to go next if he survives and gets over there.
Yeah.
So those are 2 abilities on Balthasar. Underneath we see one of his weapons. The sword next to it indicates it's a melee weapon because certain loot and certain bounties affect melee and range differently. The little crosshair is the range.
Yeah.
So that 1 means he can hit somebody with this, anybody within 1 square or 1 hex of him. So basically adjacent hexes.
Yeah.
The blue and or red numbers indicate how many bonus dice you add to your roll when you attack. So the white dice are your resource, but blue and red die are just bonus. You just get those, you roll them as part of your attack, and you set them off to the side. So we can see that his Mecha Fist, he gets 3 blue dice, and then the white die he rolls. On average, that's probably going to get him about 2.5 strikes, so he's not necessarily the best at punching people.
Yeah.
Steve Johannes says, to confirm, he can't empower himself correctly. Yes, because it says when this model performs this action, choose another model in your crew within 2 spaces of it.
Yeah.
He cannot choose himself, otherwise he could go infinite. Yeah. And we see on the Mech Fist is an example of an ability that is attached to a weapon. If he hits somebody with it after it's resolved, he can push him back 2 spaces. Positioning is really important on the board. Things that move things around the board, yourself or your enemies, is super, super potent.
Especially when the death trap bounty's in play.
Yeah. There is a walking death trap bounty that says put a death trap in play, it moves every turn, and if a hero's ever in the same space as the death trap token, they're knocked out immediately.
Yeah.
And somebody has to run up and basically break it to score the bounty.
So shove you in that hole and you're dead.
Yep.
Not dead, but dead-ish.
So here you see the Riot Quest model. You get an idea of how these rules are. Let's take a look at his War Machine and Hordes playtest rules to show you just kind of how different they can be, but kind of keeping the same flavor.
Yeah, they're very inspired by, but since they are 2 different games
with totally different rule sets,
we can go a little bit deeper in complexity on War Machine cards. We sometimes have slightly more things going.
Yep. So Balthasar Bamfist, Mercenary Rulik solo, he's very much the battle wizardy type guy, right? He has 3 really strong abilities. He's got Empower, which is phenomenal. Rulik players are going to love getting their hands on Empower.
Yep.
He's got Force Wall, which is just a strong ability. And he has Tectonic Shift, which I think will come up a little bit less. He does have the Mecha Fist with Ram on it and Battle Wizard, but I think sending him into melee is really a last resort. He wants to hang back and empower things. He wants to hang back and force wall things.
Yep.
But if the enemy gets into you, Balthasar can charge in. He's Mat 7, POW 12 with a Ram weapon, right? So he can charge in, bop something, and then still use that Empower, that Tectonic Shift, whatever he needs to do. And that's kind of what we're looking to do with a lot of these Riot Quest models. Sometimes they'll be straight combat solos, but we often want to give them utility and provide something fun and unique to the game.
Yeah.
And so with Balthasar, we really took the opportunity to fill in some holes in the Rulik force that we wanted to see, which is some anti-range and the Empower ability. So these are not being CID'd. This is not necessarily the final version of Balthasar that will go to print.
No, because these rules, just like all War Machine rules, will go up on War Room and the card database whenever the model is released.
Yes.
So there are a few months before Riot Quest comes out, and so these are being play tested up until that point.
Yep. So Jacob Collins brings up a question. If another hero is published with Empower, then it goes infinite. Correct, Jacob, which is why Empower will never appear on another hero in Riot Quest. That's something we test. I've designed 30 heroes thus far that go out through 2020. And we're testing all the interactions between them and making sure that things like that can't happen. Because every hero only has 3 abilities in Riot Quest, and because one of them is always the shared class ability, the testing permutations are a lot easier than, say, a War Machine and Hordes play test, and we can keep an eye on those kind of things. Then you've got all the gear upgrades that can change a hero, and so we watch for abilities to go infinite very, very carefully.
Yeah. And Dustin Von Berga asked what his magic stat is. You only have a magic stat if you have an attack spell.
Correct.
So There's no number after magic ability because his 3 spells don't use attacks of any kind.
Yep. We are going to also make sure that every one of the War Machine and Hordes rules versions has a place in a theme force. If we put out one that didn't have a place in any theme force whatsoever, then we will adjust the theme force to make them have a home. Obviously, Balthasar has a home, right? You can play him in Hammer Strike, you can play him in Irregulars, but we're keeping an eye on that. Doug Seacat says, if he's not from Rule, how is he Rulic? I don't know, Doug. You have to explain this one to me as well. Maybe he's from Zoo and he moved to Rule and he just hangs out there.
Maybe his parents are from Rule and he has citizenship even though he wasn't born there.
Could be. I think Doug will be able to answer that one better than anyone else.
Like, why are you asking us questions like that? That's for you.
Let's move on to Dez, shall we?
Yeah.
So, Dez, little bit tankier just because she has the higher super damage. The crosshair you see next to her name indicates that she's a gunner hero.
Yep.
Here we see somebody who's got 2 weapons. She has a dagger, range 1, rolls 2 blue die, but that is definitely not the attack you typically want to make with her.
No, she's not stabbing people very often.
Now, a hero can perform they have 5 different types of actions, but you can only perform each action once per activation, and each one costs you die. So a hero could run, open a chest, and shoot, or make an attack. But when they make an attack, they choose either melee or ranged. They can do them in any order. So for example, in Riot Quest, Dez could shoot, run, open a chest, or perform a special action, run, shoot, open a chest, however you want to do it. But she couldn't run and run, or shoot and shoot, something like that. So you're probably like, why does she even have the dagger? That's because certain gear and certain effects might do something to range attacks or melee attacks to where you have to consider using the weaker attack.
Yeah.
So it's just an option. You're probably not going to use it in most situations.
Yeah, and since you can equip a gear card at any time during your turn, there might be a situation that pops up where you're like, if I give Dez the Wrathrock Shard, and she walks over, that should give her enough dice to knock that guy out and win me the game.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of little things like that. Tony tried one in a playtest game recently where he was like, okay, if these 7 different things work on this turn, I win.
Yeah.
And he failed on the very, very last one.
He failed on sub 7.
And then I won.
Yeah.
So, that kind of thing happens. And the flexibility of the models and the gear cards and the combinations and stuff are part of the fun of the game.
Yep. A lot of people are saying it sounds like the dice action economy that Monpok uses. In Monpok, the dice, you have these 6 dice, you spin them to do things, but they always clear back to a shared pool. There's not going back and forth between monster unit pool, but it definitely has some inspiration from the Monpok action economy.
They are literally Monpok dice. There's white, there's blue, and there's red. But you don't earn red dice in this game in the same way.
They're just added.
It's a stat on your models. Sometimes it's part of a gear. Sometimes it's an ability that gives them to you. But it's not like you're piling them on and then spending them in some way. They're just another kind of die in this game.
Yep. So Desiree Acosta, or Dez for short, has aim, which all gunners have aim. That says they can reroll any number of the action dice when they make a ranged attack. The action dice are the white dice you would spend to attack.
That's something else we didn't say in this stream at least.
What?
Is that when you make an attack, it costs you minimum 1 white die. But you can roll as many as you want.
Yes. Every other action a hero takes in Riot Quest, such as running, opening chest, you just spend 1 white die on them. But actions or attacks are the only one where you can spend multiple white die, and they're part of your roll to give yourself a better chance of hitting somebody in addition to the blue and red dice you get for free.
Yeah.
So aim, all gunners get aim. High density armor, we've seen beatback both now on Bamfist Fist and now on her bazooka. And Dez can't be moved by things like that. And then obviously she has a supercharged bazooka. It can shoot with 3 hexes away. You get 3 blues, 1 red, then the action die you roll. She's really good at hitting things. There's no line of sight in the game. There's no facing in the game. Nothing blocks line of sight in any way. So if you have Dez and a few hexes, and let's say there's like a couple gates and a couple heroes in the way, it doesn't matter.
Yep.
If you can count 3 hexes out and you're pointing to whoever you want to shoot, boom, shoot them. So obviously Dez's thing is that, walk loudly and carry a big gun.
Also, Doug, answer those questions in the chat for us. People noticed the last name you mentioned, and they have questions about her family relationship.
Desiree Consuela Acosta?
Yeah. So, Doug, let people know in the chat.
She has a 4th name. It's Desiree Consuela, something I'm forgetting, Acosta.
I don't remember.
Let's take a look at her War Machine and Hordes rules real fast.
Yeah.
So here we see a Mercenary Ordic solo, Matt Rat 6. First thing you might notice is the buried treasure rule. Some of the Riot Quest models are going to use a loot mechanic that has some unique way for them to gain loot tokens. It will always be different for every hero, and then a way to spend loot tokens, which will often be different for every hero. So Dez has buried treasure. If she begins her activation dug in, she gains a loot token. She has dig in. And then she has money as power. She can have up to 3 loot tokens at a turn. She can spend loot tokens to boost attack and damage rolls, which is really cool for a Rat 6 model with a range 12, POW 14, magical momentum bazooka. Dez is a range combat solo that can protect herself at Def 17, Arm 16 with Dig In and just blow holes in things.
Yeah.
Obviously, she has a dagger like a Riot Quest version, but
Because that dagger,
you probably don't want to use
you
that
might
one.
need it.
Jacob Collins asked in Riot Quest, can you attack your own models? You cannot unless a rule specifically says that you do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's our look at Dez. Dez is a little bit more straightforward. She's just a solid combat piece, and you see that she's costed appropriately. She's a 4-point model.
Yeah. And Jacob's asking because of movement shenanigans. Don't worry, there are ways to move your own models with different abilities on different models.
Yep. So let's move on to Eris, Fortune Hunter of Ios.
So another thing I want to mention, if you guys have paid attention, we've shown 3 cards now, and the background on each model is different.
Yep.
And that corresponds to the class.
Yeah, so the icon and the color.
Yeah, so when you're flipping through your cards or looking at a treasure chest, there are shared colors. So yellow is the scout color, right? The scout.
That's
because
scout.
eyeball is scout. Okay.
You got it.
So when you're going through, you're like, oh, I'm looking for a scout. You're like, oh, the yellow cards are scouts. So it's easier to keep track of which classes people are in that way.
Yep. So Eris, Fortune of Ios, she's a scout. You see that she's faster. She's speed 5. Her def is also 4-5. So harder to hit on average for doing a point of damage, but probably about the same for doing super damage. Also has 3 health. She has Motivator. She's sort of got a team leader ability. It says other models in your crew that begin a run action. Run is spending an action die to move your speed in hexes. Gets +1 speed, so people around her get faster. She has Spotter, which all scouts have. And it basically says enemies within 2 spaces are -1 def against ranged attacks only made by other models in your crew. This actually works on Eris as well, because you notice it doesn't say made by other models in your crew, made by models in your crew. So if Eris walks within 2 spaces of somebody, she's within 2 hexes, she gives them -1 def. When something subtracts or adds to defense in Riot Quest, the 2 numbers both go down or up.
Yeah.
So if Eris was to shoot Eris within spotter range, like an enemy Eris, she wouldn't be 4-5, she would be 3-4 instead. She has gun blades. Again, you're probably not going to use those. Most of the time you're going to be using the Magna Bow pistols, range 3 blue. They're okay at hitting, but because she has spotter, it makes those defenses easier to strike.
Yep.
And then she has a rule on the pistols that says when she hits someone, she can move 3 spaces immediately. That's not a run. You just get to do that for free. And being able to move for free in Riot Quest is a really big deal.
Especially because when you kill someone, they drop a loot coin.
Yeah.
And it just sits there until someone picks it up.
Yeah.
Which if I kill one of your models and I don't have a way to move or whatever, or I haven't moved yet, because I can move after.
Yeah.
Tony can run over and snatch that coin that's been laying there when he goes.
And if Eris does the killing blow, she kills them, the model's put in the cooler, a loot drops in the hex they were in, and then she can run over and pick it up.
Yep.
Now let's take a look at Eris, Fortune Hunter of Ios, aka Eris 4 in War Machine and Hordes. And we got some rules here today.
By the way, if you don't join us live, if you're watching this on YouTube later, you're missing out on all kinds of Doug Seacat.
Yes.
He's going on and on and on about Rulik creation myths and with the Zulis.
It's like we need to get
Dwarves
lore. We need to get Doug like a lore chat or something,
Yeah.
like some kind of show where he can come on and really dig deep into these things.
Yeah.
Tony. So, Eris Fortune Hunter of Ios. Rat 9, speed 7, mat 7, def 16, point cost 6. She's a partisan ret. AD assault, pathfinder stealth. That's a good start.
So that's the first of all, I want to highlight that a lot of these models are going to be part of War Machine factions
Yes.
in different ways. Like
When we get to-
Bamfist is a Rulik model,
Yeah.
and he's a mercenary. And Dez is a mercenary, but Eris is a partisan retribution.
And she's a mage hunter.
And she's a mage hunter. And there will be other models that are just straight up a Signarin model or a Kidoran model or whatever.
Yep.
So it's just kind of however their story fits of who they are is what's going to determine what armies are going to play in.
The 5 you see in the box are all solos, but they will not all be solos. I can tell you that some of things coming up in the future, there's going to be casters introduced. Obviously in Riot Quest, there'll be Riot Quest models, but in War Machine Hordes, they're going to be full-on casters. There'll be attachments, all kinds of different things. Most of them...
Probably no units.
No, they won't be units. Most of them will be solos due to the nature of the models, but expect some more casters and warlocks in the future. So So Arcane Precision, if she doesn't move, she ignores stealth. But she's got Fortune Hunter, good old Lord Longfellow ability. And that's pretty cool because she's got a pair of crossbows, so 2 shots a turn,
Yep.
or 2 crossbow blades. And then she's got Repo 3 with Swift Hunter, and then a leadership for her other Mage Hunters. She gives them Swift Hunter as well. This is Eris that does a ton of stuff. People are probably wondering why she doesn't have Weapon Master on the crossbows anymore, and that's because she has Fortune Hunter instead.
Yeah.
Weapon Master and Fortune Hunter would turn out to be way too strong. But
Yeah.
Assault, Fortune Hunter, Rat 9, it is legit.
That's why she costs 6 right now.
Every Eris has been an assassin of some kind. Eris 1 and 2 always were a threat when they're on the board. You had to keep an eye out for them. And this one is no different. And this one is your character hunter who can also hang out with your mage hunters and provide them with a sweet little benefit. So again, remember, this is in testing internally right now. So this is not the final version. We're going to keep running it through some different paces. For example, previously she didn't have the leadership mage hunter. She had desperate pace mage hunter. That got cut. Can't do it. Too strong. Does too much stuff. That's gone. But this version has been proving out to be solid, useful, good, and not too OP.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on to Govan.
Govan, he's my favorite model in the box.
So
like
Govan
Govan a
is a rogue hero, which is the cross blades. Speed 5, def 5/6, but he's only got stamina 2.
Yeah, he's real hard to hit, but if you hit him, especially for that 6, he just dies.
Yep. And yeah, so if he takes super damage, he takes the 2, he's absolutely gone. Getz has joined us in the chat, which makes me insanely happy. Hello, Matt Getz. I love you. I miss you.
Oh, and Hamilton's right.
And Hamilton's right here.
Yeah. Hamilton's always here.
I say I miss him. I talk to Matt on text all the time.
Yeah.
So, hey, Matt, we need to catch up on some stuff. So, Govan, he has sneak, which all rogues have sneak.
Yep.
When you're playing on the board in Riot Quest, you can move through your own models, but you cannot move through enemy models. There's also barrier spaces like spawn gates and treasure beacons.
Yep.
You can't move through those. So all rogues can move through enemy models, making them usually pretty mobile. And most of them are higher speed models. He's speed 5.
Yeah.
If he's standing next to Eris, he's speed 6. He has sidestep, so if you ever miss him with an attack, which is likely given
Which happens.
Yeah, which absolutely happens.
Unless an Eris is helping you out or something like that.
Yeah.
It can happen quite a bit.
He gets to move 3 spaces for free. And then he has Explosion. Range 3, rolls 4 blue die in addition to the white die you spend. And it says when you use this attack, you basically target an enemy, you roll the die, and then you compare the results to everyone adjacent to that enemy, including models in your own crew.
Including yourself if you're
Yes,
right there.
If Govan point blank throws a bomb at somebody, he might kill himself if he rolls high enough.
Yeah, but he's got too many explosives. He's fine.
Now, gear cards, which we'll go over in a later one, they upgrade heroes in a different way. They might give them higher def stats. They might enhance their abilities. We showed one on social media recently called Bang Rounds.
Yep.
They said that when you make a ranged attack with the hero it's equipped to, you roll a red die on all your ranged attacks, and additionally, your ranged attacks pick up beat back. So for Govan, if he has the Bang Rounds, he throws the explosive, he rolls a red die, he compares the results, and then he does damage to everyone, and then he beat backs everyone he hit with the explosion. So if you want to create the sort of like effect, Govan is the best at doing it. So let's take a look at his War Machine and Hordes rules real fast. Here we have a Mercenary Gobber Solo, Def 14, Arm 11, Rat 6. Not the most survivable guy. He does have dodge.
Yeah.
He has Parry and Creeper. Creeper saying that he can advance through other models. He has Catastrophic Explosion.
Yeah.
Obs.
He's basically made of explosives.
But his explosive range attack is Rate of Fire 2, and there are 3 attack types. Case Cracker and High Explosive. So Case Cracker is the PAL 7, but it becomes Armor Piercing. High Explosive damage becomes, blast damage is 10. And Time Charge, which is a new one, that says he gets Repo 5 for this attack, and it uses the base AoE through PAL 12. So Govan can move 6, throw, make one of those be a Time Charge, make the other one be something else. He'll have Repo 5. So if you always make one of your throws a time charge, you could repo. If you don't want to repo and you just want to go clear out a bunch of infantry, then walk up with a dude with Rat 6 and throw a pair of high explosive bombs out there.
Or if you want to case cracker somebody twice.
Or if you want to case cracker somebody twice.
A really important target you really need to get rid of.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. So Govan, again, point cost 4. That might... I don't think it's going to drop below 4, but he's in testing right now. He's got a very clear purpose and role in what he does. He He runs up, he blows some stuff up, and then he probably dies. But if you do fail to hit him at def 14, he kind of bounces back to safety wherever he needs to be, and you can't tie him down because he's got parry and creeper. So if you try and run up and engage him, he just walks through you, stands where he wants to be, doesn't take any free strikes, then blows you up.
Case crackers you in the back of the head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last hero we want to talk about. So Mike Carey, real fast, says, does beatback work from Govan or for the center of the explosion? So the beatback rule in Riot Quest says you can move an enemy model that's hit by this attack 2 spaces, but they have to end further from this model than they started.
Yeah.
So if you hit a group of people with Govan's explosion, if he had the bang rounds, you'd then see where Govan is, you'd count how many spaces you were to each hero, and you can move them 2 spaces. You can move them 1 space if you wanted to, but then you'd have to count those spaces out and make sure they're further. It's really easy to do, but you just couldn't knock them closer to Govan. And Sir Dreyfus the Storm Knight.
Yeah, like I was saying, a literal Storm Knight, a Signarin, who somehow survived the horrible apocalypse of the Claiming, the Infernal showing up.
No, he's not a Storm Knight. That's Sir Dreyfus' storyline.
It says the Storm Knight right there.
Well, I'm
on
going
his card.
He made that up.
I'm just reading.
He made that up.
No.
So Sir
He's
Dreyfus
a liar?
was this little scrawny dude who couldn't make the cut into the Storm Knights. He never made it. So the apocalypse happened, and he survived somehow.
Yeah.
He went to where like the Storm Knight Academy was, took their gear, and he built himself a suit of armor. So when you look at his model, he has like kind of scrawny legs, this big bulking upper body, because that's kind of the armor he built for himself. And because there's no Storm Knights left in the Riot Quest timeline, he's now Sir Dreyfus, the Storm Knight, because there ain't nobody left to tell him otherwise. So he just says, yeah, I'm a Storm Knight.
Yeah, like I said.
And who's going to argue with him?
He's a Storm Knight.
Speed 4, decent def stats, very similar to Dez. We see he's got flank, which is like Eris' spotter ability, but it works for melee instead.
Yep.
He has safeguard, which is the ability that all guards have, and the blue background and the rook symbol means he's a guard hero.
Yep.
Safeguard says other models in your crew adjacent to this model gain cover. When models gain cover, they either gain it from an ability, such as this, or they gain it by standing in the hazard line spaces you've seen on the map. Those are rough terrain. They take 2 squares to move in, two sets of speed to move into. So they count as 2 spaces, effectively. And they give you cover. When you get cover, both of your defense stats go up by 1, and cover doesn't stack. So he's got Safeguard, which all guards have. If you've seen the James Riot Quest model card, which has been shipping out with the James model coming out from the Kickstarter, you'll notice that she also has Safeguard. And then he's got a special action he can spend a white die for, which is Leap.
Because he's wearing a jetpack.
Because he's wearing a jetpack. This says place him 2 spaces. Placing is different because it doesn't move. When you move, you can't move through enemies. The hazard spaces count as 2 spaces. You can't move through barriers. But place literally says pick the model up and place it as many spaces as it says. Each hex can only contain 1 hero. And if it's a barrier space, it can't contain any. But what it lets you do is just, he can run 4 spaces, then leap 2 and like jump over things he's not supposed to be able to do.
Yep.
His Stormlance range 1, but rolls 4 blue die, and then he'll be in flank range, which means he hits pretty dang hard. And then he's got the Electric Bolt with a little bit extra range. It rolls less blue die, but maybe you get a ranged upgrade that helps you out, just in case you're having trouble hitting somebody in melee.
He loads
for whatever
bang
reason.
rounds into his lance.
Yeah, he loads bang rounds into his lance and shoots
it all
his,
works.
his,
Don't worry, it all
his
works.
bolt. Bull Wardian says, do we have a timeline on when the James model rules come out for War Machine and Hordes? We will be releasing them on War Room probably this week.
Yeah, we're working on the War Room version. The card in the card database will be soon, but not any kind of promises on that.
Yep. Well, we're like neck deep in Oblivion proofing right now in the dev office. So we will have James out as soon as we can. She's a little bit more involved on our end, just to be transparent with you, because as a merc that works for everything and goes into every theme force, we have to proof and make sure that when we're testing the War Room update, that she is an option that functions in every single theme force she can work for as your like one mercenary solo. So it's gonna, we should have it done this week.
Yeah, and Striker 911, Bang Lightning is just thunder.
Bang Lightning is just thunder.
Yeah.
So there's Sir Dreyfus. Let's take a look at his War Machine and Hordes rules. Here we see a Signar solo. So he's a Signar solo. He is a Storm Knight because it's in his title. Mm-hmm. So obviously he'll be played in Storm Division.
Yep.
Mat 6, Rat 6, 1217 def armor, but he does have a shield.
Mat 7.
Sorry, Mat 7.
Yeah.
Mat 7, Rat 6, 1217. He has a shield. If you look real fast down at his shock shield, he has a shield that just has disruption on it. He's got the Voltaic Lance, which is range 2, palpable strength 12, and has brutal charge. He also has flank friendly warrior. So whenever he's attacking somebody who's in the melee range of another friendly warrior, he gets the flank bonus. So he's going to hit and he's going to hurt really bad. I mean, he's looking at an additional damage die, hitting at mat 9 at palpable strength 14 on the charge of flank. In addition to that, he has jump, so he can just get where he wants to, and he's got roadblock, which is sort of that guard ability, providing cover to people and keeping them safe.
Yep.
And worst comes to worst, he's got an electric bolt with electro leap on it, and he's rat 6.
Yeah.
So for cost 5, this is just an all-around, just value-intensive Storm Knight solo.
Yeah.
He can do a little bit of anything. He can get into places that are, he can jump across enemy lines, and he can do damage, especially when he gets in there on the charge.
Yep.
So that is the 5 heroes in the starter box.
Yep.
You saw those are their final versions of their Riot Quest hero stat cards, and obviously there's a lot more cards to see, like the gear cards you might be able to upgrade them with, the bounty cards and so on. And then those are the playtest rules for War Machine Awards right now, which are still subject to change, but we will see.
They'll be locked in sometime this summer.
Mike Curie says, mandatory gripe, it's a Signar model with a lance without the lance rule. What's a Storm Lance?
Yeah, it's a Storm Lance. Storm Lances are not exactly lances.
Yeah.
They're lance-like. They're lance adjacent.
I don't think I put the lance rule on a single Riot Quest War Machine Hordes version, like their War Machine Horde rule.
Well, there aren't a lot of there aren't a lot of lances in.
There's
Riot Quest,
one.
Are there?
That comes out like in early 2020 that has a lance.
I thought that was a whip.
No, it's a lance.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
So let's see if there's any questions we want to hit in chat real quick before we get out of here. Red Tech says, Hungerford, it's my birthday. How about a Minoth Riot Quest spoiler? Sure. One of the Minite models coming out for Riot Quest way later on, this is like in 2020, will be one of the models I was mentioning that's going to be a Warcaster in its War Machine and Hordes version. It doesn't tell you who it's going to be, but you've got a new Warcaster coming from Minoth in 2020 via that Riot Quest model. Jacob Collins says, in Riot Quest, what is the 6th class and class ability? The 6th class is Fighter, and Fighters all have the charge ability that says if they run before they make a melee attack, they get a red die on all melee attacks they make that activation. Normally everyone can only make 1 attack, but there is some gear and some characters that have abilities that say they're allowed to make 2 attacks, usually of a certain type, melee or ranged a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's not a fighter in the starter box, but the Shard of Wrathrock makes you a fighter.
Yep. Winter Mute says, what kind of tokens, if any, are needed to play Riot Quest? Are they included in the game? Yes. In the core box that these 5 heroes come in, you'll have all the tokens you need. You'll need damage tokens, you'll need loot tokens, you'll need the bounty-specific tokens, which are where things like bombs and death traps and like turrets randomly appear in the arena that you have to go interact with to score points. But everything you need, they're all in the box. They look awesome.
Tony, do you have the image, the back of the box image that has like pictures of tokens on it and stuff? It's floating around the internet. It's out there.
Rusty Goblin Miniature says, what type of model is the Cephalix model proposed to be? I don't know that we've officially said there's going to be 100%. There will be, I'm telling you now, there will be a Cephalix model. I don't think we've said that.
Well, have we ever even
but if there was,
technically said that Chuck Dogwood is more than just a joke?
No, we haven't.
Yeah.
So if there was a Cephalix model, it would be a specialist. Adrian Brown, what is the fluff reasoning behind Warcasters becoming just normal guys in Riot Quest? It depends on them, and currently, the only one you're going to see that was a Warcaster that became a normal person is Butcher. Butcher doesn't have his Warcaster armor anymore, and post-apocalypse, he's gone super bat poop crazy. But a lot of characters you're going to see later on might be people you recognize as casters or people that could have become casters that will be Warcasters in War Machine and Hordes long. Alec M says, when can you pre-order Riot Quest? It got solicited, so I believe that distributors and stores or stores
should be able to pre-order it right now.
Yeah, you should be able to pre-order it right now. Eric Swinson, which one of you is giving me a demo at Lock and Load? Me.
Well, we're going to have multiple copies, possibly, of the game, and who knows?
Bullwardian has what is the approximate release schedule of Riot Quest models? 1 to 2 months between now and the end of 2020. So basically, there's going to be the core box that comes out right around Gen Con, and there's going to be like 6 or 7 heroes. Individual heroes that come out back to back to back.
Yeah,
Then-
like within the first month and a half or so.
Most months, you're getting either 2 or 3 heroes added, which means for War Machine and Hordes, you're getting 2 or 3 new models almost every month out of Riot Quest. Then Riot Quest is also going to have expansion boxes that add new maps, new bounty cards, new treasure cards, new things to add to your boards, and they'll often come with a hero as well.
Yep.
So there's a couple heroes I want to talk about, but I can't because Lock and Load's coming up, and we've got a lot of cool stuff to show you there about Riot Quest. But there's a lot more stuff to see. This game is designed well into 2021, and we plan on supporting it past that, including kind of an idea of what organized play might look like in a year and a half, and how we can do like block releases for it, and how there'll be almost like a legacy version where you'll have everything you ever put out, and then specific sets for new people to come in. We're trying to bake in a limited format and a legacy format from day one into Riot Quest, so that going forward that always exists and we're good to go.
Tyrannius, I think that's Tyrannius, has a question about what's it like playing, since everybody has the same selection of Riot Quest models. And early on, with the starter boxes especially, you'll have the same 5 I have.
Yeah, at the very beginning, we'll both have the same 5.
Yeah, but the thing to think about is, remember, only 4 models are in play at a time.
Yes.
So if Hunger Fright and I both bring 10 models, and they're the exact same models on both sides, we might not put the same 4 into play.
Absolutely.
We might not equip the same riot gear to the same models. And the game does lean into that, because one of the bounties is attacks, or does it take out someone or do damage to someone? I can't remember. But it says you want to target someone the same class as you, and if they have the same name as you, there's a bigger bonus.
Yeah, that was
freaking imposters.
the bounty
it's
card.
called freaking imposters.
One of the bounty cards that can flip over. It's called that, and
Yeah, so the game takes into account the fact that you might have the same models on the table, but there's so many other variables about which models you have in play and which riot gear you have equipped and all those kind of things, and what order you choose to activate your models. Because I could be holding my Dreyfus in the back to try and sneak in and pull some dice off somebody to take a later activation, and you might start out with your Dreyfus because you want to punch someone into a death trap. Yeah.
Any Horde spoiler love? Mike asked on Facebook. I mentioned that a Midnight will be getting a Warcaster from Riot Quest. One of the Riot Quest models will become a Warcaster. Something that I pitched.
Yeah.
Matt Wilson looked at me and said, "I love it. Let's do it." And I can't believe / I'm super happy is coming. There'll be a Riot Quest model in the future, probably early 2020, that is going to be a new Minions Warlock. That's all I'm going to say for now. I can't wait to show everybody.
Yeah.
I
also-
feel so accomplished.
And also, like Cheddar Caveman says, Chuck Dogwood. Chuck Dogwood.
Chuck Dogwood.
Yeah.
Definitely a real
Chuck
model.
Dogwood. Yeah, but if you look at the picture that Tony showed earlier of the map with the models on it.
Oh, see, they're thinking Chuck Dogwood is a Minions Warlock. Chuck Dogwood
No,
is not a
he's
Minions
not the
Warlock.
Minions Warlock. He's too erratic to be a Minions Warlock. So you can also see that the Boom Howler and Hold'em, Harlow.
Harlow Hold'em High.
I always get his names backwards. It's Harlow Hold'em High. So there's a really gun mage in there. That's a brand new model, brand new character. There's a brand new version of Boom Howler with a machine gun. And then there is a Gorman with a weird squirt gun on there. And then, of course,
the sludge
James.
cannon.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you also look at that image, like Hungerford was talking about earlier, there's spaces that you can move into and spaces you can't move into in normal spaces.
Yep.
So blue and yellow spaces are spawn points and treasure points, and you can't move into those. And then the things with the hazard stripes around them are effectively rough terrain and cover.
Yep. So 2 questions that popped up on Facebook. I want to hit real fast. Benjamin says, since it's more of an entry-level game to the miniatures board game, will we have to assemble these minis? Yes, it is still a hybrid hobby miniature board game.
Yep.
While it plays very easy and very casually, it is still a assemble and paint your models game. And Steve Johannes says, will bounty cards rotate with the format or just the characters available? We haven't gotten that far. There will be different bounty decks and different treasure decks to give you very different experiences.
Yep.
But we'll talk more about how the formats can be specific.
Yeah.
For example, the starter game in the box says, your crew has to be a minimum 5 models, maximum 10, 4 and play at a time. That is just the base game. First person to score 7 VPs wins. You get the VPs off the bounty cards and also by killing enemies. When we put out organized play for it, we're going to probably introduce a variety of ways to play. Like there won't really be this isn't like a super tournament game, but it is a way to play in events, right? And so we'll probably be like, here's the basic way to play. Now here's a way you can play where it says everybody brings exactly 6 heroes and you have to have 1 of each class.
Yep.
Right? We have a lot of things we do. I want to create a draft where it says people get together, you put your hero cards down, and you sort of have a go around the table MOBA style draft, including possibly banning heroes out.
Yeah.
And we're going to introduce different ways to be able to do that to make Riot Quest fun in however you want to play it. I mean, there will be events where basically there'll be rounds, people will go and play. We'll probably do best 2 out of 3 because the game plays in about 20, 30 minutes at most. But you can easily play 3 games in an hour. And so we'll probably do best 2 out of 3 matches. And the Riot Quest tournaments will probably last X rounds, 3 rounds. They won't be undefeated.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a scoring system and just go from there. Because again, we want to keep it easy entry, fun, and make this game what it's supposed to be. For super complex and deep strategy, we've got War Machine. For the slightly more complex board game with a lot of like really cool interactions and like checking your positioning, we've got Monster Apocalypse.
Yep.
And for something that definitely has player agency and fun, but an element of chaos, and it's Smash Brothers with the items turned on. Riot Quest.
Yeah, yeah.
And it gives you 3 different styles of playing Privateer Press games that I think hits 3 unique audiences. To be honest, I think there's gonna be a lot of people that are into the super crunchy games that are not, they're not gonna like Riot Quest, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because
but
it's
also,
not that kind of game.
Also, it's a different mood thing.
It's a very different mood.
I've seen hardcore tournament players at War Machine events
Definitely play those kind of games.
goofing off at night,
Yes.
at midnight, playing something that like is totally not that kind of thing. And this game fits in that same category.
Absolutely.
Like you could spend 8 hours playing hardcore tournament War Machine, and then just want to relax
And play a
and
couple
throw
games.
dice and whatever. And that's a Riot Quest game with 4 players at midnight. You know, when you haven't slept enough. So yeah.
Yeah, and like I think it's good for us as developers and as the company to have this sort of wider net of types of games. With Riot Quest being, I don't even say it's the most casual. I say the Bodgers games like Heap and Front Contraption, those and like Zombies Keep Out.
Yeah.
That's our most casual. Then you've got Riot Quest and Monster Apocalypse kind of here.
Yeah.
Then I'd say probably the RPGs. Then Company of Iron and War Machine.
Yeah.
It's sort of the steps of complexity of the different games. And it's good. And there will be players that swim between all those. And then some people that go, nope, I just like this type of game, whether it's on the Riot Quest end or the War Machine end. And it just brings more people into our community. And it lets more people enjoy Privateer Press, join all of us, all of you out there, get to know each other. And you know, as we go to cons, maybe somebody that would never have stopped by a War Machine Hordes tournament comes by because they're playing Riot Quest and they've got cool looking models, and they, you know, round 2 ends and somebody leaves the tournament and comes and starts throwing down with Riot Quest off on the side tables. That's what we like to see. Just a really inclusive community with lots of options for everybody to play.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons that Riot Quest came to be, was to fill what we saw was kind of a void that existed.
And I'm going to answer it even though they asked you earlier. Somebody said, how do I convince my spouse who's not into War Machine to try Riot Quest? They're not the same game in any way at all.
Yeah.
If you know someone who's intimidated by a full game of War Machine, then Riot Quest is kind of aimed at them.
Yeah.
The decisions are one model at a time. The game is way lighter and less impactful, and you have a lot more flexibility and silliness happening in a game of Riot Quest than in a full 75-point game of War Machine.
Yep.
And Tony's got
Tony, what you guys say?
I was also going to say that the because the bounties are providing your victory points for the game and knocking out other characters as well, your goals are very clear from turn to turn on what you're choosing to do. So trying to find a solution to winning the game is much simpler because you know exactly what will move you forward.
Yeah, and then you just decide which way you want to try about it. And then often it's a game with a lot of risk and reward. You try which risk do I want to take? Did the reward pay off? So before we get out of here and we end the stream, couple last questions to hit. Will there be any mini crate models for Riot Quest? Can't say that just yet.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about Company of Iron, but we mentioned that one.
Somebody asked if War Machine models will be playable in Riot Quest, and at the moment the plan is it only goes the other way. Riot Quest is its own game, it gets its own models, and those models are playable in War Machine, but there will more than likely, except for characters crossing over like Eris, there won't be a War Machine model that you can just play in Riot Quest.
Yep. And Sergio on Facebook says, you know, releasing models in games are cool, but how about the lore and the RPG things? So unfortunately, I don't think we can talk about regarding RPG stuff, but I can tell you that a lot of us here, especially on the dev team, and obviously Doug Seacat, we love RPGs. I run an RPG every Sunday, as does Doug, participates in one. We can't say anything just yet, but I can tell you that RPGs, we know there's definitely a community out for there. We are not ignoring you. We're not turning a blind eye. I wish I could give you more news. I can't right now, but know that we see you, and we definitely care.
Yeah.
And when there is more that we can say, we will. I promise
Also,
you.
when you say lore, Oblivion is full of lore. Oblivion is a return to anthology-style books with fiction and background and model descriptions and all that stuff. So when the Oblivion box set comes out, there will be a book in there that's the campaign book, so it has some campaign scenarios and rules for campaigns and that kind of stuff in it. But it also is full of story and lore and character information.
And in fact, next dev chat, what we should talk about, we're going to get on it. We're going to talk about the full narrative campaign system that's in Oblivion and talk about the lore behind it. Maybe even show you the cool looking campaign tree and talk about this giant portion of the Oblivion book coming out that's not new models that will let you play a narrative campaign in the current timeline of Oblivion. So I believe it is time for us to end the chat and go to Jimmy John's and get some food.
You can go to Jimmy John's. I brought a sandwich of my very own.
From Jimmy John's?
No, it's a panini. They don't make paninis, do they?
No.
Oh, I'm not, no.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Get your paint on, 10 a.m. Pacific with Jordan Lamb. Until then, goodbye, be safe.
Goodbye.